And so I'm excited to really unpack what's possible with iPad today. So I'm going to begin by sharing my screen so we can just get started here. All right. So I'm going to hit play here and let me know if you can see my screen okay.
Yes, you're good.
Okay, awesome. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to kick it off front loading our information with the Education Center. But before I do, I'd love to know who else is in the room. So please let me know what district you're from and what grade level or role you're looking at our conversation from. So we've had coaches, classroom instructors, to counselors. So I'd love to be able to personalize our conversation the next hour to better suit your needs. So let us know where you're coming from. That way I can take a look at that chat. So.
High school, Head Start, yay.
Okay, thank you for sharing those. Let's see. Okay, I'm peeking. I joined on my secondary device so I can see the chat as well.
Yes.
Okay, so it looks
a good
like,
idea.
Yeah, that we've got
instructional coaches, first grade, high school, yeah, a range that can take advantage of Apple. Yes.
And so do you also see any districts outside of San Antonio ISD in the chat?
Let me see. No, not right
Randolph.
now. Oh, Randolph, yes.
Okay, yeah, well, we're happy you're here to unpack this next hour. So I'm going to start by giving you a quick insight into the education website. And so that's education.apple.com. And so if you haven't heard of the site, it's a must bookmark. It is an asynchronous space where you're going to get the latest updates and announcements and anything new that has anything to do with teaching and learning with iPad or MacBook. And so head over to education.apple.com. I do recommend, and most districts recommend, since it's not something that's affiliated with your district, use a personal email, your personal Apple ID if you want. So you do have the ability to learn things like foundational skills in here. So, and you can become, you take these quick quizzes and you can become designated an Apple teacher. But Apple Teacher is really just the start, something you can put on your resume. There's other coaching opportunities. Yes, yeah, totally.
Can you see me? So sorry, we had a power outage here.
Oh yes, I can see you. Well, no, let me see if I can hear you, but I see you now. Yes.
Yeah, we just had a power outage here. So weird, everything turned off.
Woohoo, gotta love it. Power outage during a technology showcase is like the last thing you needed, right?
Yeah.
But we just have to laugh at these things.
You're taking care of.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. So I was covering some of the things that you can do, like you can earn your Apple Teacher badges, which is something you can put on your resume. Definitely hits that T-test distinguished mark. We're in a professional learning space. But these are the types of things that you're going to get there. And so I'm going to go through a couple of these today, but I definitely want you to know that you can go back and really go dig in at your own speed, at your own pace. And so everything from learning about the home screen, the control center, the camera, how do you multitask on an iPad? You can split your screen in two. All of those are in Apple Teacher in the Apple Learning Center. But I know that our day really begins with all of the built-in tools that we have available on iPad. And so we're going to look at how iPad can really be customized to make it yours. And so I have a quick video that I wanted to share. And so it's going to show a lot of different examples And then we're going to bring this back to teaching and learning and really specific ways that the iPad can help with our everyday learning. But this, I love starting with this video because it shows all of the accessibility ways that an iPad is, we use about 10% of what's possible on our iPhones and on our iPad. So there's so much that can be done. So I'm going to let this speak. Rocio, if the audio isn't coming in right, just let me know and I can restart it. So that's a powerful movie because it really shows the potential of what's possible, right? And so we're going to begin to unpack a lot of these. But before we move further, I'd love to see in the chat what was one of the pieces where you're like, wait, what just happened? Or what was a moment in that short film that you connected with? I know for me, it was definitely like the scene where the gentleman is blind and he has two doors and the screen goes black. And so he doesn't know which door to go into, but he uses the magnifier in the room to be able to distinguish using a new feature which one. Yes, I know the accessibility features are definitely so empowering and a great reminder that this is a very powerful device. And so it's all built in, no extra apps needed for a lot of everything you saw. The possibility is amazing. And so, yes, the jacket color. Yes, we're going to look at those new features. So as I mentioned, if you joined us a little late, there was a huge announcement at Apple yesterday. I don't want to give it away. It's one of these like you need to go see it and discover this on your own. But the film it's called the WWDC, the Worldwide Developers Conference, was released. And so we're so excited about iOS 17 and some of those features coming to education. But also there's a brand new way to interact with our world. And so I'm just going to leave it at that, let you discover it on your own. It's towards the end. It was our final announcement. But on an iPad, you've got two cameras, you've got speakers, you've got microphones, you have a pretty long battery life. There's different ways that you can write on iPad. You can use the world's best stylus, your finger, or you can use a crayon, which is the Logitech crayon, the smaller one, or an Apple Pencil for most of the ones that are at the school. And these two, I would like to call out that the two tools vary because you could buy some things like just like regular styluses. They usually have sometimes they give them away at banks and things like that. But those operate very differently than the two pencils that are provided here because these actually are pixel specific, so you can rest your wrist on the screen and write in a more natural way. And I really like the Logitech crayon. I've got that one right here. It's also got like an ergonomic shape and it's really lightweight and keeps a long battery life. But the way that these are the basics here on the device, but let's dig into kind of some of the features. And so iPad OS, I work at Apple and there are always new updates. So we're always excited to dig into those. And I'm going to jump out of this keynote and show you my iPad screen in a minute, but I'd like to go over a few of these. So the first one that I'd like to start with is a new feature called Live Text. And so Live Text is built into camera, into other things. And so to give you a little bit of context, I think about the learners in our classroom. And so we saw these amazing accessibility features in the film, The Greatest. And FYI, if you want to rewatch that film, it is available on Apple's YouTube page. So if it's one of these films that I had to watch a couple of times to really watch a specific cast member and understand how the technology was playing out in their life to live, learn, and play. But these types of things happen every day in our lives. And so we've got a PDF here, and I literally took it out of my 16-year-old's backpack and I said, what if I was a learner that didn't speak the language, or maybe I was reading below grade level, maybe I was a newcomer. And sometimes it is the reading below grade level that a lot of our students struggle with. And so doing something like the math homework is very daunting. And so now they can open the camera, and there's a new icon. If you look at it at the very far right, it's also on the left here. It looks like a little square with some lines through the middle. But you tap the live text icon and you can essentially pull the text out of the page. Tap.
Jada is making lemonade for a get-together with her friends. She expects a total of 5 to 8 people to be there, including herself. She plans to prepare 2 cups of lemonade for each person.
So we can also translate it.
Jada está haciendo limonada para una reunión con sus amigos. Ella espera que un total de 5 a 8 personas estén allí, incluida ella misma. Ella planea preparar 2 tazas de limonada para cada persona.
Yes, it is life-changing. So think about what this means, using technology to unlock meaning and unlock the world. Everything from our anchor charts to navigating the world. If you're traveling this summer to a place where you may not speak the language, you can do all of this along with your iPhone, your iPad. And so it's so pretty cool. Somebody wanted to see it again. I'm actually going to model it. So, and we're going to see it in a different example. So this is another way, Rocio, to look at this, or Rita. When this feature first came out, I was in New York at the Natural History Museum, and I'm like, I remember I'm an English language learner, and we used to go on field trips, and I missed out on a lot of the text that was in front of the exhibits, those like explainer or charts and paragraphs that are signage that is alongside a lot of the exhibits. I would try to make the best meaning I could out of it, but imagine if you could just take your iPad, it's a mobile device, take a photo of it, tap, and unlock it like this.
Grizzly bear.
Or hit translate.
Oso grizzly. And
then it could translate into any language that you need. But let's look at this with something totally foreign. And so if you are, I'm going to bring this back up, but I'm going to model it first, and then I'll bring this back up so you can see if you've got your iPad. Now, as always, I'm going to mirror my iPad now so that we can do this way. All right. So, Rocio, can you see my iPad screen?
Yes. Yes,
okay,
we
cool.
can see it.
So I'm going to go to the camera here. And I'm going to open it up, and you see my desk, and you see that Japanese flyer that I had. But I printed it out, so it's a piece of paper. And I am going to just tap the live text icon. And so it pulls it out. And so now I can select what I want to read. Let's just have it do this first line here. And I'm going to say translate, because I can't read Japanese. And then I can play it. iPad is powerful and portable. I think my speakers
capable of any task.
Yeah, so I can have it be read to me just like that. And so that's pretty powerful. I can also copy that translation. So if I wanted to put it in notes or a different app or an email, I can do it that way too. So let's do another part of this. Again, this is text. It's like, oh, this is writing. It's detecting it. I can tap, pull it out, then select, and we'll have it translate this whole section here. Translate. So it's pretty awesome what it can do. And so let you do the same thing. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to stop mirroring my iPad for a second so that you can, I'll play this full screen. I was able to do it. If you have an iPad, go ahead and aim at some of the Japanese text there and let me know if that works for you. Yes, it is going to change a lot of, it's a scaffold for how we learn. So I don't know if that's too small, but I'm going to try it too. I can aim, get that little live text. There it is, and then pull it out. So just a really cool feature. That's one of them. We were hitting the gate, we're out of the gate strong with live text. Let me know in the chat if it worked for you, or if you had the live text feature. But that is definitely one to show everyone you know, this new feature. It really is about empowering us to unlock meaning. I'm going to give it a second and then we'll move on because we've got a lot of features to cover today. All right. So some of the things that will also, it worked. I'm letting my daughter know she's in Greece right now. Yeah.
Wow.
You got to, yes. Well, so that is Reagan. Reagan, that's awesome. Yes, let your daughter know because she doesn't have to struggle as she goes through. And let me show you one more thing since you mentioned Greek in specific. Let's take a look to see if that's one of the languages. So I'm going to go to settings on my iPad. Yeah, and if you don't have that feature, you may want to update. So let me show you where you would check. So by default in settings, you're at general and then I love international travel is now mega unlocked. Yes, exactly. Like you can go anywhere in the world. I love it. Okay, so if you go to software update, it looks like I even have an update, so I need to download and install, but I am running 16 point something, so at least it has it. But you want to make sure that this section always like you're ready to go. So you can save that and then come back to it. But by default, when you come into the settings, you're going to land in general. And then on the right, you want to go into language and region right here. And then notice that I have English as my primary language, Espanol, Latinoamerica as second, and I have like a different Spain Spanish. But if I wanted to organize these, I could do that. But I don't want to do that just yet. But I'm going to add a language and let's take a look. There are a lot of languages in here, and I'm pretty sure Greek is one of them, but the fastest way to find it is to go in and type in Greek. So Greek is there. Your daughter can now navigate her world like never before. So what you would do is you would, it's asking you this really important question. It says, would you like to use Greek as your primary language? Say no, say use English. So you want to it's going to do this wipe, like it's going to restart, and it probably kicked me off of the screen there, but let me come back. Because it redid your iPad. So now Greek is an option for me. So when I go to translate anything, it's going to be available to me now. So it's pretty cool. And what's interesting that I need to figure out is even though I didn't have Japanese as one of the languages, it still was able to translate it to English for me. So the technology is working behind the scenes to just help me navigate the world. So anyway, that is one space there. And if you are in settings with me, let's take the moment to go into some other spaces. So we've got the control center here as well. And so when I'm using this as a pointer today, but if I swipe from the far right like that, I get the control center. And so you're able to customize what you see here. So I have a flashlight, my Apple TV remote, we're always losing that or misplacing it, or I have access to the camera, a timer, but this is one that I think all teachers should know about. It is screen recording. So by default, the microphone is always turned off. So if you wanted to record something, you would turn it on, and then when you come back, you just tap and it records everything happening on your screen until you turn it off. So if you wanted to show your daughter how to use that new feature, you can make a quick screen recording after the session and say, okay, you're going to go into general, then you're going to go into languages, and this is what you need to do. So you can, sometimes it's just quicker to send someone a quick video recording. But if you want to customize, all of these are other options for me to add. I don't have these on here right now, but I'm thinking voice memos could be a fun one to add to that. Even quick note. The quick note one is a fun one to add, so I think I'm going to add that one there. But anyway, so control center is great. And then let's head over to accessibility. So we could really spend more than an hour talking about accessibility. But accessibility is one where it all depends on who's sitting in front of the iPad. So and really we're all as unique as our fingerprints. So this is something that I want you to get to know, but we also have resources where you can just call Apple, and that they're actually based here in Texas out of Austin, where it's a 24-hour hotline or an email. You can tell them, okay, I have a hand tremor, I'm not able to like tap correctly on the screen. It's, you know, I've seen people that use their nose to open up apps because their hand has a tremor. So you tell them what you need and they will guide you through the different accessibility options for you. This is also something you can share with parents and with anyone you know, so that you know that the technology is used just right for that person. But one of the things that I wanted to call out was spoken content. And we're going to go here in a minute, but this is where it lives, spoken content. You want to make sure these things are toggled green. And then I like to place the highlight content on so that it tracks like left to right. That's a lot for like our younger learners who really are learning to read left to right. And then most importantly, I'm going to introduce you to a new voice. You've probably met, we're going to go into the English languages. You've probably met Siri and Samantha, but Alex is the voice that we recommend that will model correctly. He's going to be the one that reads contextually and really the best practice for education. Notice you can adjust the speed here, but you can always adjust it elsewhere as well. So tortoise and the hare, self-explanatory. Some students prefer to hear things a little faster, so that's where you would do that. But if you wanted to choose the Alex voice, mine is already downloaded, but sometimes some of these voices have a little cloud next to them, and so you want to just download the cloud and then come back and make sure that you checked the right voice. All right. Let's see if there's anything else here in settings that is a must know. I'm also using a touch button that's this here. So if I toggle it off, it disappears. If I turn it on, it's back. And the one thing you can do, depending on who you're working with, and maybe even if you have like what kind of case you have on your iPad. Sometimes I've seen some really thick, bulky cases that are awesome. They're military grade. They're going to protect your iPad, but it's really hard to do some things like take a screenshot. And if you are familiar with taking a screenshot, it's, you know, you got to press the home button and the home key at the same time. And I struggle opening up pickle jars these days. So there are things that you can do. So customize top level menu is where you would go. And I'm going to reset it so it looks like maybe what yours would look like. So essentially, you're going to turn this into a button that will do what you want it to do. So I'm going to go and make it do one thing for now. But when you tap in the middle, you can have it do lots of different things. And so I'm going to choose screenshot. So now when I tap the button, it takes a screenshot for me. And then I can like mark things up. I can save this. I can I see our friend live text is also sitting there. So live text is saying, hey, there's all these things on here. Do you want me to read any of those to you? And so just awesome that the technology is not just in one space, but you're going to find it throughout lots of different ones. I don't really need this screenshot, but I just wanted to show you how that's something you could do. But you can add a second icon, and maybe I'll make the second one. I'm going to make it speak screen. So I think since we're about to show you Alex, speak screen could be an awesome one. So now it gives me a choice. So I can choose left or right and then have it do whatever I need to do. So those are the options there. But let's go back into the keynote. And I think I've got it sitting in here as well. So, all right. So I'm going to. We were here with the Japanese text. All right, so multitasking is one thing that you can do on iPad. So the idea of taking your screen and splitting it in two, the way you would do that I've got an Apple website loading right here. But if I wanted to play music at the same time or look at my email, I think I'll just do music. I would lift and then take it to the side. And now I've got this split 50-50, but I can adjust it so it's something like this. So it's more like an 80-20. And anyway, so if you wanted to get rid of it, you just swipe out. So that is called multitasking, and also the steps are in Apple Teacher. Quick Note is one that I did add recently. And so essentially what you would do is you would pull up from the far right, and then you can make a quick note. And so that's easy and fun. It's more of helping us with our executive functioning skills where our brain and our energy is constantly being, we've got a lot of competition from email dings to text messages to environmental distractions. And so this is one to help you just stay organized and to make a note on the fly so you don't forget something and you don't get overwhelmed in your life. So that was one that I toggled on in the control center. And speaking of focus and energy levels, there's also focus. Yes. So focus is one where you can go in and really put your devices on do not disturb, and then you can also customize. And so that's available in the control center as well. And then I wanted to point out that if you are using all kinds of different apps, everything from your Google, your Microsoft, or Apple's native apps, iPad is the only device that can play all three of those. So you really have a personalized experience. If you're used to Google, you can use it all on an iPad as well. So I wanted to share a little bit more. So when we dig into learning here, you can look at the different ways that iPad can those features of like speaking the screen and then translating. But this is Safari. This is Apple's web browser. It's unique in that it protects your privacy. And so a lot of what happens on your devices from everyday kind of tracking, Safari is going to be one that will alert you if a website is attempting to collect data from you. And so that is a core value. What happens on your iPad stays on your iPad. Apple doesn't collect and harvest your information. And we think it's a fundamental right for you to own that privacy. But along the lines here, if you head over to the little a and the big A, you can see that it is, that there is, let me see, I'm going to hit tab here to play this, the option to translate a website in here. So if you go into Spanish, the entire web page just changed. So I didn't have to look for a Spanish article on Shakespeare. I just hit translate. You can also highlight and
El único hijo de Shakespeare, Hamlet, murió en 1596 a la edad de 11 años.
So, and then speak, and you can also translate. So Shakespeare's only son died in 1596 at the age of 11. So all of those features are going to be found everywhere, including your text messages. So when you text your daughter, you can text her in English, tap translate, and I challenge you to text her in Greek. That'll be really cool. But really, the sky is the limit. There are so many different accommodations and accessibility features to personalize the iPad for your needs. And so we'll continue to dig into what those can look like. And so I mentioned earlier that Alex was the voice that we recommend you toggle on. And there's a few things I wanted to share about Alex. He speaks with a natural intonation for a robot. He has a very fast speaking rate, and this is all designed in a way because we need to be able to intake in an auditory way and make meaning out of what is being said to us. And so the most important cool feature is that he's a contextual reader. And so anything we put up in front of Alex, so an email, a text, a web page, he's already read it. And so he's able to do things that like we may struggle with, but especially an emerging reader. So he's going to model correctly, and that's the key word. A lot of our learners, he's going to pronounce things correctly, and I see it all the time where people mispronounce things because they've seen it in text, but they maybe have never heard it come out of someone's mouth, and so they don't hear it. And I'm a huge believer in ample practice, and the more we're exposed to academic vocabulary and language, the more that we can do here. So let me let you listen to Alex on read something for us.
Hello, I'm Alex. I'm based on an advanced technology developed by Apple, and I have been optimized for the very fast speaking aids common to screen readers. I work in any application that uses Apple's speech synthesis, including VoiceOver. I also understand abbreviations, long numbers, and heteronyms. These are words that are spelled the same but have different pronunciation and meaning. Here are some examples of challenging sentences that I know how to read correctly. My name is Dr. Smith and I live on Smith Drive. Close the car door, we are too close to the bridge. King Louis IV needs an IV in his arm, stat. When I fill up my car, it costs 487 quintillion 642 quadrillion 586 trillion 378 billion 941 million 127,253 $253.28. Although Apple's text-to-speech technology took years to perfect, eventually it was perfect.
So that's a really dramatic example. So things that are spelled the same but pronounced differently, like close the car door, we are too close to the bridge. So I love this example because it shows even reading big numbers. That's the voice. He's fast for first graders. Yes. So you can adjust the speed, and let me jump. Actually, I was on my iPad, so let me do it again. So a first grader can read, we can make it whatever they want to read. So if I am, I'm going to put this in, let me see, I want to go somewhere where there's text. So I'm going to highlight this text here, and I can say, speak.
Begin your Apple teacher journey by exploring foundational resources designed to help you master key features and apps for
Learning
iPad and
Center.
Mac. You will discover hands-on tutorials that make it easy to learn new skills and earn your badges to become a recognized Apple teacher.
So that was Siri. I must have her selected here. But if you take two fingers and swipe down from the top, that's another way to summon Alex. But I do recommend that for this page, it doesn't look like reader is an option, but if I were kind of in this, like a National Geographic webpage like this, Alex is meant to help people who have vision issues. And so if I take this article and put it in reader mode, now I just have the vivid photos, the title, the headline, and all the facts, right? And so I could have it read this entire page to me by taking two fingers. We call it a peace sign or bunny ears. And then from the very top of the screen, I'm going to swipe down like this.
Arctic fox. An Arctic fox's long, fluffy tail acts like a blanket,
pull out the
keeping
menu,
fox warm.
And I can adjust the speed here. So I can make it slower or faster. I can pause it. So this is where you get it to the speed that makes sense for that learner. But I will say, you will be surprised at how different our learners need this read to them. There's a lot of students that actually prefer to read things at 2 times the speed. My daughter is one of those, and I'm always shocked. I'm like, that's how it's just a different generation. And she says, no, yes, I prefer it that way. And then she takes notes as she reads. And so that's a really great question. So there isn't a one way, it's whatever works for the kid sitting in front of them. But the other space you can go back to is in settings and then adjust that tortoise and hare, kind of like we do when we go to the optometrist. Is this better or is this better? So just play around with it until you've got that perfect fit. Great question. Okay. And so in context, again, if you wanted to read an article, one thing I forgot to mention about Alex is that he takes these human-like breaths. And so he's able, like, I want you to listen for it and see if you can catch him taking these like, breaths.
Their body temperature and heart rate are lowered, and their breathing slows down while they live off the huge amounts of body fat they stored up during the summer and fall. This way, they don't have to leave their dens and hunt for food in the bitter cold.
And so that breath is actually engineered to let us process and intake information. And so it was right after the word fall, he goes, and we do that. We have to catch our breath when we speak. All right, and so again, as a reminder, where you'll find things like spoken content, that'll be in accessibility on the left, spoken content on the right, and then you want to toggle all of these things on and then choose the Alex voice. All right, so we've been covering a lot of different features here, and so I wanted to give us some time to dig into the Apple teacher learning community, but really the tools that are sitting in your students' hands are very powerful. And I think just in those few examples, we've seen how iPad can differentiate for all kinds of learners as well as Mac. So it's being used across industry, in medical, to construction, to dentistry, to really changing the way that we operate and even do things like fly a plane and make sure that things are accurate. And so you've probably interacted with an iPad cashier as well. So all of these things are happening on the same devices that your learners have access to. And so I'm now going to head over to the Apple teacher learning community, but I'd love to see if there was anything that stood out so far. I'm checking the chat. We just learned a lot. We learned about spoken content. We learned about live text. Was there anything that you are going to run and try first? If you want to drop that in the chat. Translating, yes. Yeah. Yeah, and there is a dedicated translate app as well on all of your devices. So if you want to search for an app on an iPad, you swipe from the middle down with one finger and you get search. And so the translate app, it looks like this. It's black with two speech bubbles, and you can use it different ways. You can use it, there is a camera feature here as well, so I could do kind of the same thing that I did there to translate that. But I like actually conversation mode because, yes, good. I'm glad. There's all these ways that we're helping our learners. I'm looking at the chats coming in. But right now, let's see, I'm going to go from I'll do Spanish to English, and let's make that US English. And so it's going to translate in real time. So let me see what sentence I can say in. Okay, so I've got a silly sentence ready. I'm going to tap the microphone here. Hola, mi nombre es Cristina. Hoy yo tengo mucha hambre. Okay, so that is my silly sentence, but you see that you see that it's an instant translation and it's still listening to me. So I'll stop it there. But isn't that cool? Like, you don't really skip a beat. And so if you actually put it in this mode, face to face, so if it's silly, right? It's side to side. So if you change your device, now you don't have to sit shoulder to shoulder, but it's more like a Pac-Man game. So I can see what I'm saying and you can see what I'm saying. And so that's a different view there. Let me exit out of that. But I thought that was I like vale, esa es mi frase tonta, pero lo ves, you know, it is very Spain-like, right? The translation there, that was interesting. Okay, so that app, since a lot of us are going to be traveling the world or we have family members that are, is also a must know for that space. But let's head back into, in our final moments here, into the Education Center. So I'm going to give you a personalized tour of what you need to know when you're in this space. So first things first, this is, there are certain sections in here. There's the Learning Center and the forum. And then notice the sign in. You can just be a tourist in this space and check it out. But I do recommend that if you're going to dedicate some time, go ahead and log in and you know, dig around and look around so that you can see all that's possible. All right, and so if you come in here, you can go into the Learning Center, and I sent you all towards the foundational skills earlier, and then iPad and Mac, and then you can look at all of the different ways down here where you can look at iPad, but notice that there is a dedicated accessibility option. And so there's other things to learn here. So if I did anything a little too fast, come back in here and take a look at a lot of the control center, the different ways that we can use things like spoken content. There's videos here as well. So all of these features are available. And then this option, earn your badge. So when you're ready, you know, go ahead and take a quiz. This is not shared with the district. It's between you and your personal learning, but it is something that you can gain and then keep to put on your resume. Also in, well, let me go back. The Learning Center are these amazing lesson integration ideas. And so I like the idea. So once you become an Apple teacher, it's really not just about getting the badge, but it's also about getting the portfolio, like building your own ideas and exemplars. And so there's a lot of get started ideas here, and they sit in these 3 buckets from activate, explore, and apply. And so activate are those kind of like get started ideas. And so I wanted to share that there's gold in here as well. So each one of these has a lot of ideas. So I'm going to go into like the graphic organizer one. And then we're going to go in here. You can see that they have examples. And so these are galleries anytime you see dots here. So you can scroll through the different examples of using the built-in apps to do a lot of these things. And then I also appreciate that they've given you the templates. So there's some amazing get started ideas here. So if you tap the template, you can download it and it'll be in your, you can now add it to your collection here. So in this case, it's asking me, do I want to add it as a template? I've already done that, so I can show you where it is. So now when I go to add a new one, you don't have to worry about messing up your copy because it's always going to show up as a nice clean copy. Some of the other things I have in here are like comic templates and some agendas and things that I do all the time. But these are, you don't have to start at zero. And so, you know, sharing these with your students, but you get all of the speech bubbles, the compare and contrast. And what's neat about doing these types of things on technology is that you can then add multimodal tools in here. So things like drawing, I can pinch out and say, let's see, if I don't, actually, let me change my writing tool here. If I don't brush my teeth, then, you know, I might get cavities. And so you can write with your finger or a digital option here, or you can also have kids record. And so those are all built in. So if I'm going kind of fast, so let me slow down. If you head over to the media options here, you have a lot of different options. And so even with our youngest learners, there's icons that they can lean on. So record audio is one of them. And then I can tap. So if I don't brush my teeth, the effect might be that I could get cavities or I'm going to have stinky breath. And so I hit stop, insert, and now I have like a speech bubble right there. And so even our youngest learners, we can hold them accountable. And I love kind of looking at the T-Test distinguished category because it really challenges us to hear from all learners, and to really be able to for every student to take ownership instead of just hearing from maybe the same 3 or 4 kids that always raise their hand. This way, every kiddo is held responsible for learning. And so those are a few of the tools available on in this space. But I love that. And we all started here from this graphic organizer template that we downloaded. And so there's a lot of gold for you to dig in and to really explore. But again, it kind of starts with getting your foundational badges as well. And then once you're ready, I know for me, I like to know what the rest of the world is doing. And so there is a forum. This is a new space at Apple. And so if you click into things like the teaching and learning section, you can go in and you see the things that are trending. So there's educators that have posted lots of different ideas, and it's really a K-20 space. But you can also look, I like looking at it down here by area. So I can look at things like, whoops, let me go back. I like looking at it by area. So looking at things like if you're looking for literacy or math examples specifically, then you can filter that way as well. I have an example in here that I'll show you. So I posted this idea of a reader's theater with pages, and I kind of go through an example. I connect you to the YouTube link here that'll post in a second. And then I give you the template. So if you wanted to do reader's theater activity, you could download that template right now. So that the other reason you may want to create a login for free is because to get the templates, you have to be signed in. So you can browse and look around and do all of that. But that's also a space where you can do that. And so it's important to note that there is a team as well for this at Apple that vets every upload. So often when apps have collections of lessons, sometimes I go through them and I'm like, well, I would never use this. This isn't quite up to standard. So I like that Apple is looking at each and every post and every template and making sure that Apple kind of gives their stamp of approval before you guys get it. So those are the spaces that we wanted to share today. And so I know we're have about 10 minutes left, but
I was about to mention that. Yes.
I wanted to give you, I beat you to it, Rocio. But I also wanted to give you time to dig into the education community or answer any questions. If not, I can give you this asynchronous space back so you can take the time to dig into the community. But